The African wild dogs surge toward their target in relentless waves. When the entire pack closes in at once, even other predators struggle to respond in time. With every approach, the target loses more of its ability to stay in control. That extraordinary coordination has made them one of nature's most efficient hunting packs. Once the pursuit begins, is any animal truly capable of getting away? On the Serengeti, lions and African wild dogs represent two very different hunting strategies. Lions rely on individual strength, with large males weighing up to 400 pounds and capable of overpowering prey in a short time. African wild dogs, by contrast, weigh only about 50 pounds each, yet achieve hunting success rates of nearly 70% through exceptional teamwork. Lions are the dominant competitors. They can take over food sources and pose a direct threat to both adult wild dogs and their pups. When they approach a wild dog denning area, they create an especially serious risk for young pups that are not yet able to protect themselves. During disputes over food, lions use their size advantage to take control of the prize. The wild dogs respond by keeping their distance, staying in constant motion, and maintaining pack coordination through vocal communication to reduce the risk of losses. When under pressure, the pack may split into smaller groups. Some individuals continue moving in front of the lions, while others spread out to locate safer openings. When they hold a numerical advantage, the wild dogs repeatedly move in and pull back, forcing their opponents to keep turning and remain alert. In this ecosystem, no species holds a permanent advantage. Lions depend on individual power, while African wild dogs rely on coordinated teamwork, creating a constantly shifting balance across the savanna. Across the African grasslands, many antelope species are frequent targets for predators. The impala is one of the most commonly pursued. Capable of running at speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour, leaping nearly 10 feet high and more than 30 feet in a single bound, it relies on speed and rapid changes of direction to escape danger. Even so, speed alone does not always guarantee safety. African wild dogs hunt through endurance and teamwork. During a pursuit, individuals constantly rotate positions, allowing the pack to maintain steady pressure over long distances. Their coordination and stamina make them one of Africa's most effective pack hunters. Once the chase begins, pressure from multiple directions can gradually separate one impala from the herd. That separation reduces the herd's collective awareness and allows the pack to focus on a single target. Throughout the pursuit, the impala uses its speed and sharp turns to increase the distance. In some situations, it races into the water, where the pace of the chase changes immediately for both sides. Even then, the wild dogs maintain pressure by spreading out and approaching from multiple directions. As the pursuit continues, the prey's speed advantage can diminish if the terrain limits its ability to turn or accelerate. In this environment, speed may create the initial gap, but the pack's coordination is often the factor that ultimately determines the outcome. Across the African savanna, the warthog is far from an easy target. Its sturdy build and curved tusks provide a formidable natural defense. When pursued, it does not run at random. Instead, it usually heads for its burrow, a natural shelter that may extend several feet underground, helping reduce pressure from predators. African wild dogs have adapted to this strategy through teamwork. The pack spreads out and approaches from multiple angles, while the warthog makes its way toward the safety of its familiar refuge. Once inside the burrow, the warthog positions itself with its head facing the entrance, allowing it to respond quickly if needed. At this point, the wild dogs avoid a direct confrontation. Instead, they repeatedly dig around the entrance, gradually weakening the protective layer of soil surrounding the shelter. The pressure comes not from a single attack, but from constant persistence. Within the confined space, the warthog's ability to maneuver becomes increasingly limited. As the entrance gradually widens, the distance between the warthog and the waiting pack continues to shrink. In this environment, a shelter does not always guarantee safety. The outcome depends on how effectively each side uses teamwork and controls the available space. The intense heat of the dry savanna becomes a relentless test for every animal. The oryx, with its tall frame and horns that can exceed 3 feet in length, is a formidable opponent, known for its endurance and strong defensive abilities. When threatened, it lowers its head and keeps its distance, forcing any approaching predator to proceed with caution. The pack of African wild dogs begins by wearing down its target's stamina. The pursuit typically starts after a single oryx becomes separated from the herd. At first, the animal remains calm and holds the advantage. It turns quickly, lowers its head, and responds immediately whenever a wild dog comes too close. That advantage, however, does not last. Some wild dogs move ahead, while others spread out and gradually close in from behind. The pressure remains constant in the intense heat, steadily draining the oryx's energy. As its reactions begin to slow, its defensive ability is no longer as effective as before. The pack takes advantage of that moment to close the distance and steadily increase the pressure. The outcome provides an important source of energy for the pack after a long and demanding pursuit. Across the vast savanna, where every source of energy comes at a cost, the line between hunter and opportunist is constantly shifting. African wild dogs are relentless hunters, capable of maintaining a chase for miles, but that endurance also makes them easier to notice. Spotted hyenas are skilled hunters in their own right, yet they are equally willing to take advantage of opportunities created by others. When they detect a pack of wild dogs feeding, they may move in cautiously to assess the situation. After the wild dogs complete a hunt that has required considerable energy, the hyenas begin to close the distance. As more hyenas arrive, their approach gradually shifts from cautious observation to steady pressure. Rather than relying on greater speed, the hyenas use their larger size and numerical advantage to challenge for the food. The wild dogs immediately switch to a flexible defensive strategy, keeping their distance while weighing the value of protecting the food against staying safe. When facing a single hyena, however, the situation can be very different. If the wild dogs hold the numerical advantage, they apply pressure through alternating approaches, forcing the hyena to keep moving. In the end, the outcome depends on which side controls the pace of the encounter. Against a lone hyena, pressure from the entire pack may force it to retreat. But as more hyenas arrive, the balance can quickly shift in the opposite direction. Across the open grasslands, wildebeest travel in large herds, where numbers improve their ability to detect danger. Every step is part of the rhythm of survival, with the herd providing a greater sense of security. Their sturdy bodies, high shoulders, and powerful kicks make them far from easy targets. Even so, large herds can also create openings. The pack of African wild dogs waits for the moment when a young animal, a slower individual, or one that drifts away from the herd becomes easier to approach. When the conditions are right, the pack spreads out and closes in from multiple directions. Approaching from several angles, the wild dogs force the wildebeest to change direction again and again, while maintaining steady pressure from behind. This strategy does not rely on short bursts of speed. Instead, it depends on endurance and continuous pressure, gradually wearing down the prey's energy. Once separated from the herd, the wildebeest loses much of the protection that comes from staying with the group. Meanwhile, the wild dogs constantly adjust their positions to maintain pressure around the target. Over time, that sustained pressure makes it increasingly difficult for the wildebeest to maintain its speed. In this ecosystem, the outcome is not decided by a single moment. It depends on teamwork and the ability to control the pace of the pursuit. Through coordinated pack hunting, African wild dogs are able to take advantage of the constant movement within the Great Migration. Beneath the shade of scattered trees, the leopard appears as a solitary and patient predator. With remarkable strength, it can carry prey weighing nearly as much as, or even more than, it does up into a tree, turning the canopy into a safe place to keep its food away from opportunistic animals below. When the sounds of the hunt draw attention, a pack of African wild dogs quickly locates the scene. As the leopard works to lift its prey into the tree, the pack spreads out, gradually closing the distance from multiple directions. Facing pressure from the entire pack, the leopard climbs to a higher branch and keeps its distance while the food remains below. Once the leopard is forced off the ground, the wild dogs immediately gain an opportunity to reach the food source. Elsewhere, when the leopard returns to what remains of its prey, it unexpectedly encounters a single wild dog. Using the low grass as cover, it quietly moves closer and briefly gains control of the situation. However, the other wild dogs quickly arrive, creating coordinated pressure that forces the leopard to withdraw. The leopard returns to its familiar strategy, seeking higher ground for safety. Meanwhile, the African wild dogs maintain their advantage through teamwork and rapid coordination. In nature, no strategy is absolute. Solitary hunting offers precision and surprise, while life in a pack creates pressure and allows the risk to be shared. With each encounter, teamwork helps African wild dogs overcome much of their disadvantage in size, though it does not guarantee success against every opponent. They are not the strongest predators, but they know how to turn numbers and coordinated movement into a decisive advantage. Against solitary rivals, pressure from the entire pack can quickly change the course of an encounter. In nature, the advantage often belongs to the side that can sustain the pursuit the longest. If you want to follow more incredible journeys through the wild, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.